Did you know that experienced hospice nurses can often recognize when a person is approaching the end of life? This ability isn't based on guesswork. It comes from years of careful observation and noticing consistent, subtle patterns. Although each person's death is unique, there are 5 common signs that tend to appear in the final days. Facing this topic can be emotionally challenging, especially as we reach our 60s, 70s, or later. Many of us have already gone through the loss of someone close, such as a partner, sibling, parent, or friend. Gaining a better understanding of what typically occurs during this time can help reduce anxiety and allow us to approach these moments with more peace, empathy, and even appreciation. In this video, we'll discuss 5 signs that seasoned hospice nurses frequently observe before death. These observations aren't found in manuals. They come from direct, compassionate experience, sitting beside patients and noticing meaningful changes that family members might miss. Whether you're supporting someone now or simply preparing for the future, being aware of these signs can provide a sense of clarity and strength during an incredibly personal and profound time. Let's take a closer look at what to expect in those final moments. Sign number 1. Retreating from the world around them. A common early sign observed by hospice nurses is a gradual withdrawal from the outside world. This isn't a sudden change, but a quiet, progressive shift. The person may begin speaking less, keep their eyes closed more often, and stop answering phone calls. Even when visitors come, they might respond with a soft smile but say little. It's as if their attention is turning inward, towards something deeper and unseen. This transition isn't usually a sign of sadness or depression. Many seasoned hospice nurses describe it as a calm and almost deliberate process. Rather than flipping a switch, it's more like gently dimming a light. Their connection to external life slowly fades. The noise, routine, and responsibilities of daily life seem to lose importance. For friends and family, this can be confusing or even hurtful, especially when the person loses interest in eating, chatting, or shared experiences. But from a clinical perspective, this is often the body and spirit conserving energy as life nears its natural end. Take Walter, for example, an 84-year-old man who was once full of stories and laughter. In his final days, he requested fewer visits, kept the lights low, and preferred silence over music or TV. When his daughter suggested watching their favorite show, he quietly declined. Nurses reassured her that this wasn't rejection, but a peaceful sign of inner reflection. Walter was beginning the quiet process of letting go. This phase isn't about emotional distance. It's a natural form of detachment as the body instinctively prepares for its final chapter. The kindest thing loved ones can do in this time is simply be there, offering quiet companionship without expectations, allowing the person's space to transition with dignity and peace. Sign number 2, changes in breathing patterns. Another key sign that hospice nurses frequently observe as a person approaches the end of life is a noticeable shift in their breathing. These changes can take various forms: longer pauses between breaths, more shallow or irregular inhalations, or breathing rhythms that seem unfamiliar. One specific pattern often seen is called Cheney-Stokes breathing, where breathing alternates between shallow breaths, brief pauses, and occasional deeper breaths. Though this may seem alarming to loved ones, it's actually a normal part of the body's natural decline. For those at the bedside, these breathing patterns can feel unsettling or even frightening, as though the person might be struggling or in distress. However, experienced hospice nurses emphasize that these changes typically aren't signs of pain. Rather, they're physical signals that the body is transitioning. The systems that have kept the person alive are now gradually winding down, doing exactly what they're meant to do. One story comes to mind. Dorothy, a 79-year-old woman who had spent decades singing in a church choir. She once described breathing as the music we don't notice until it changes. In her final days, her breath came in soft waves, sometimes rapid, sometimes slow. Her daughter would sit quietly beside her, matching her mother's rhythm, finding a sense of peace instead of panic. These changes happen because the brain's signals to the lungs begin to slow. The body isn't panicking, it's simply conserving energy and letting go of unnecessary functions. Emotionally and spiritually, this slowing breath can also be viewed as a shift inward, helping the person find quiet and calm in their final moments. Understanding this breathing transformation can be deeply reassuring. It reminds us that, while the process may look unfamiliar, it's part of a natural path toward peace. Rather than reacting with fear, we can choose to be present, grounded, and accepting. If you're finding these insights meaningful, feel free to comment number 2 below. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you won't miss more helpful guidance during life's most tender transitions. Let's continue to the next sign. Sign number 3, turning inward from the world. A third significant sign often noted by hospice nurses is a deeper form of withdrawal, not just from daily routines or social interaction, but from the outside world altogether. This isn't about pushing people away or feeling upset. Instead, it reflects a calm, inward shift, as if the person is beginning to focus on something more internal and personal, something beyond our reach. You might observe that your loved one sleeps more, keeps their eyes closed even while awake, or no longer finds joy in once loved activities. The television remains off, phone calls are left unanswered, and favorite hobbies hold no appeal. This transformation doesn't usually stem from sadness or confusion. More often, it's a natural redirection of energy inward, a quiet preparation for what lies ahead. Take James, an 84-year-old former train engineer, known for his colorful stories about life on the tracks. In his final days, he became quieter, spending hours simply watching the trees outside his window. When his granddaughter brought him a toy train, hoping to spark a story, he softly touched it, smiled, and said, "That chapter's over." There was no grief, just peaceful acceptance. From a psychological perspective, this type of withdrawal often helps conserve energy and signals an emotional readiness for the final stage. In hospice care, this phase is honored and protected. Nurses understand that this private inner space is essential, and they avoid interrupting it unnecessarily. Families naturally want to keep their loved ones connected, offering food, conversation, or entertainment. While that impulse comes from love, hospice professionals gently remind us that letting go of expectations can be an equally loving act. Quiet presence, holding a hand, sitting silently, or simply being near can offer deep comfort. And in that silence, what often emerges isn't grief, but gentleness. It's a soft, graceful release, like a cherished book closing slowly, one final page at a time. Sign number 4, a brief surge of energy. This next sign can be surprising and even misleading for families, often bringing a sudden sense of hope. Known to hospice nurses as the rally, this unexpected burst of energy near the end of life may seem like a sign of recovery. A person who has been quiet, weak, or unresponsive might suddenly sit up, ask for food, speak clearly, or recall memories with remarkable sharpness. To those not familiar with this stage, it can feel like a miraculous turnaround. But for experienced caregivers, this moment is usually a signal that death is very near. It's the body's final spark, a short-lived return of energy, much like the last bright flicker of a candle before it goes out. What makes this experience especially powerful is not just the activity, but the clarity and presence that often come with it. Someone who had appeared confused may suddenly become completely lucid. They might express love, ask for someone they hadn't mentioned in years, offer apologies or blessings, or share meaningful final words they had been holding in their heart. George, a 79-year-old former farmer, hadn't spoken for days. Then one morning he woke up, asked for coffee, and told his son to care for the Southfield apple trees. They weren't getting enough sunlight. He cracked a joke, requested his favorite song, and passed away peacefully that night. Medically, this rally may result from a final surge of adrenaline or shifts in body chemistry. Emotionally, it's often seen as a profound gift, a final opportunity for connection, closure, and peace. It's important to recognize this moment not as a recovery, but as a sacred, fleeting window. If you're present during such a time, don't rush. Be still. Listen. Offer love. Say what you need to say. If this resonates with you, feel free to comment number 4 below. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss future insights. Your support allows us to keep sharing guidance and comfort during these deeply meaningful times. Let's move on to the next sign. Sign number 5, shifts in breathing. As a person nears the end of life, one of the most noticeable changes is in how they breathe. Though this may seem alarming to those who haven't experienced it before, hospice nurses recognize these shifts as a natural part of the dying process, not something to fear, but something to understand with compassion. One of the more familiar patterns is called Cheney-Stokes breathing. It involves cycles of deep, rapid breaths, followed by a pause that can last several seconds. To loved ones, it may seem like the person is gasping or struggling for air, but in most cases, they are not in pain or distress. Rather, the body is simply slowing down, gently letting go. Breathing typically becomes slower, more uneven, and shallower as time goes on. This can last for a few minutes or several hours. Another sound that may occur is the death rattle, a wet, gurgling noise caused by saliva or mucus collecting in the throat because the person can no longer swallow or clear it. Although this sound can be difficult to hear, hospice nurses reassure families that it does not usually cause discomfort or awareness for the individual. They are often in a calm, unconscious state. Nurses may gently reposition the person or use medication to help reduce these sounds, but their focus remains on providing comfort rather than trying to stop what is a natural part of the process. One memory that stands out is of Carol, age 82, who had been unresponsive for 2 days. Her daughter remained by her side, holding her hand without leaving. One evening, Carol's breathing changed, becoming slow with long pauses. Her daughter later described it as watching the tide go out, gentle, quiet, and peaceful. Though these breathing changes signal that the end is near, they don't call for panic. They offer a moment to be fully present, sitting nearby, speaking softly, and simply offering love can be deeply comforting. In these final moments, quiet presence often speaks louder than words. Final thoughts. Thank you for taking the time to read through this. Discussing death is never easy, yet it's something we all face. Whether through the loss of someone we love or as we come to terms with our own mortality. Gaining a clearer understanding of what to expect doesn't remove the sadness, but it can ease the fear and replace it with a quiet sense of readiness and calm. Hospice nurses often liken dying to being born. Both are profound life transitions, each with its own natural pace and signs. Just as a baby takes their first breath, the dying take their last. Neither moment should be feared or hurried. Each deserves to be honored with care, respect, and love. If you've ever been with someone in their final days, you'll know how sacred those moments are. The silence, the gentle touch of a hand, the quiet presence that often says more than any words. It's not about doing something heroic, it's about being there. Your presence alone can bring tremendous comfort. Whether you're currently navigating loss, supporting someone at the end of life, or simply preparing yourself for the future, I hope these reflections have offered some comfort, perhaps a touch of clarity, a bit of peace, and a deeper sense of compassion for what it means to be human in life's final chapter. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to know what stood out to you. Feel free to leave a comment with a takeaway and how you plan to use it in your life. Your feedback encourages us to keep producing meaningful content. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support helps us keep creating uplifting and informative videos. Thanks again for watching, and we can't wait to see you next time.